Welcome to Cyber CEO, wherein we talk about how our cyberbackers helped our cyber CEOs take their businesses to the next level. Cyber CEO is powered by Cyberbacker, the world's leading provider of admin support services from anywhere in the world to anyone in the world. Please visit our website www.cyberbacker.com for more details. Good day to everyone who's listening. Again, my name is Jill. I'm the host of Cyber CEO, and we are very lucky to have another Cyber CEO on the show. Amanda, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for asking. So, for the benefit, of course, and for our listeners to know more about you, can you tell us something about yourself, Amanda?
Well, I am a Tennessee-born girl, but I am living outside of Boston. So I am the team leader of two market centers. We have an office located in Concord and another located in Lexington, and we have just over 200 agents.
200 agents. So, team leader. Of course, not all of us who are listening or probably don't know what a team leader actually does. Can you share with us what a team leader does?
So a team leader, I would love to say that there's so many parts of that job, but when it comes down to it, I am a recruiter. My main focus, my one thing, if you will, is to recruit talent to our offices. But with that, also a team leader does business consulting, coaching. We do classes on profit share, education, community outreach. For instance, we're organizing a blood drive in just 2 weeks. So there are so many things that go within that role, but it's really just to get our agents, functioning day to day and to get their business at the
Mhm.
next level, whatever that may mean to them.
All right, that's good then. So, for our listeners, Amanda is a team leader, and she's been with Cyberbacker for how long now?
2 months. I'm a
Two
baby.
months.
I'm a cyberbacker baby.
All right, so 2 months so far, and your Cyberbacker is Albert, correct? How has it been so far, the experience?
I really have enjoyed working with Albert, and I'm not just saying that because I'm on your podcast. I think that we have a great business relationship, and it was a little overwhelming at first, but I've got to give it to Cyberbacker because they really took the time on the front end to make sure that I was ready, to make sure that Albert was ready. And as we hit some speed bumps along the way, just, having a course of,
Mhm.
correction, a plan of action. And that's really just made this last month, especially, just run so much smoother.
All right, that's awesome. So, what can you tell me about Albert right now? Working with him, how is he like when you see him, talk to him, things like that?
Albert is a lot quieter than me. So
Hmm.
I would say he's almost shy. I don't know if he would agree with that, but he does come across as somewhat shy compared to me. What I love most about Albert is that when he has a question, he's not afraid to ask me a question. Or if I say, can you do this? Yes, but why are we doing this? Right. So he wants an
Hmm.
understanding of why we're doing things certain ways. And I'm not going to pretend that it's easy to know why I think a certain way, but
Hmm.
he's willing to learn and to understand. And like I said, as we've hit, challenges or obstacles, when we put a plan of action into place, like he corrects it. It's not like I'm constantly having to remind him, hey, remember, this is how we want it to be done. It's just, this is the plan. This is what we're doing. And he picks
Hmm.
it up and he runs with it. And I've got to say, that is the most admirable quality about him. On a personal side note, I would say that he is a man of faith and he loves his family. And I'm not going to lie, that is one of the things that he was open about from the beginning. And that's really, other than his skills, that's really what attracted to him as well.
Okay, gotcha. So, what you're saying then is, of course, these types of relationships aren't really the conventional types, the kind of partnerships we're used to, right? A lot of us are used to having, let's say, a person or an assistant right there by your side, someone that you can call on if you need anything. This is something that, let's say, new to a lot of people. Now, let me ask you though, what makes it, let's say, a successful partnership?
I would say clear communication. Not assuming that we know anything, not leaving anything to question.
Hmm.
And even though Albert is not in the next office next to me, he's on my email, he's on my Google chat, he can text me on my phone. I'm showing you, like, anybody can see my phone right now, but it's just, there's these multiple ways to get into contact with me, and the communication is clear. So it doesn't matter. I think if anything, this past year has taught us that you don't need to be in an office building with someone to conduct business, right? I mean,
Yes.
just the communication is there. And if there's any questions, we don't let it ride out. We just bring it to the forefront and address it.
Yeah, I totally agree with your point earlier. Like, especially when the pandemic started, I think that paved the way for a lot of businesses to be more virtual, more online, right? Taking
Yeah.
advantage of the technology, of course. Now, let's go to a question here that we want to ask you. How much time has Cyberbacker saved you ever since you started?
Millions of hours. I'm kidding.
Millions of
I'm kidding.
hours.
Maybe not a million, maybe not a million. But one thing I know for sure, I am blessed in that I love my job, so I don't see it as work. However, I did notice with this role, the time that I was home, I was actually taking away from my family to prep for the week ahead. And on Sunday afternoons, I would take time to prep my call list,
Mhm.
to prep my agent list, to do all the prep work for the week ahead. So I would say easily on Sundays alone, Albert has saved me 3 hours a day on
Wow.
Sundays alone. But two, just talking on the day to day, we have certain metrics that I as a team leader need to meet and he as a cyberbacker needs to meet. And I would say he's easily saving me 2 hours a day, because I would still take my computer to bed and put in the notes from the afternoon. And with having him as a partner in that, I'm not having to do that. So he saves me a lot of time.
All right, so a lot of time. Imagine 3 hours on Sunday, 2 hours on the other days. But of course, for the benefit of our listeners as well, what are, let's say, the tasks that you have your cyberbacker do for you in your business?
Well, I think we started slowly. I hope that he would agree to that, but we are adding things as we reach our comfort level. The main thing I needed for him right now is to prep our call list. So we do have a model that we follow of who are we calling this week. It takes the guesswork out of who we're going to call. So he preps those lists for me, so that they're ready for me on Monday. So basically he preps them by their last name. He sorts the ones that he's going to call. He sorts the ones I'm going to call. And if I don't call all my people, he helps me at the end of the month, at the end of the week, which is really good. So he's always on standby for that. He also has taken the lead. The state actually gives us
Mhm.
new licensee lists every week. So he will actually reach out to those people as well to schedule appointments. The bulk of his time is spent calling. So outbound calls,
Mhm.
making the connections, calling the appointments. And the goal is to set 2 appointments per day, which he's shining in that department.
Perfect.
And just communicating to people that yes, he is my cyberbacker, but he is an extension of me. And the more that he makes those phone calls, the more the agents are in our circle, they're going to recognize that, oh, Albert, he works with Amanda, right?
Yes, a partnership, of course, and for them to get to know him as well. Now, you mentioned earlier that you started a bit slow just now, but what are some of the things that you're considering having him do in the future?
I think one of the things that team leaders and other CEOs like to lie about themselves is that they are the only ones that can do the job. So what I would love for Albert to do is to be more involved with the agents we already have in our office, and for them to also see him as an extension. So whether that is making appointments, following up with them on certain classes that we've had. And right now, Albert is focusing on R1. So that, for the
Mhm.
people who may not know, in Keller Williams world, that means someone who is selling 8 units or 8 properties or less a year. So as he becomes more familiar with the agents in our community, I would love for him to go after the bigger fish
Mhm.
as well, because I think some of the busier agents don't even know what leverage gives to them. And seeing how we can leverage a cyberbacker, an executive assistant, and how that would translate into their business as well.
All right, so that's very exciting for your cyberbacker then, getting on, of course, getting more big fish, as you mentioned. Now, these types of relationships, and you mentioned there were a few speed bumps, right? Can you share with us what were some of, let's say, the challenges that you've had working with cyberbacker?
I think the biggest challenge was our appointment show rate.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is not to say this is Albert's fault. We live in the greater Boston area
Mm-hmm.
and the attitudes are strong and mighty in this area. And, sometimes people would be rude or other things, but, we just had the conversation of Albert, don't take it personally,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, don't take it personally. Just keep reaching out. They're going to realize that you're constant in this market
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to drop that facade at some point. But also, just speaking of the coaches that Albert uses, it's like, how can we improve the show rate? So it was sending out the email the day prior, sending a text, giving them a phone call the
Mm-hmm.
day of, just to say, hey, just to remind you.
Reminder. Mm-hmm.
And we actually saw our show rate, once we implemented those plans of action, they increased, I would dare say, 85%.
Wow, that's a very big increase, and you still managed to do that, of course, by helping your cyberbacker as well. Now, any other challenges though, or just that?
I would say some of the challenges is just in my communication. So I tend
Mm-hmm.
to write emails or send text of how I talk. So I think that is, I don't even want to call it a language barrier because it's
Mm-hmm.
not a barrier. Albert's English is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm from Tennessee. Sometimes he probably speaks better than me. But it's just sometimes I type or I text with how I speak, and just the slang or the
Mm-hmm.
short term may be lost in translation.
Mm-hmm.
So I just took that as, okay, that's an opportunity for me. How can I communicate effectively and make that clear? And I've told Albert too, I'm like, listen, if I'm not being clear, tell me, Amanda, what are you talking about? Right?
Of course, these types of relationships, as you mentioned, is gonna be a two-way street, right? Of course, you still have to invest something, and of course, your cyberbacker also has to invest something for you to be able to meet in the middle, to have an understanding. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Now, there are still a lot of people today who are having, let's say, second thoughts or thoughts that are stopping them from hiring their own cyberbacker. What advice would you give them?
I would say just make the jump. So I was on the line for months and I would say at
Mm-hmm.
least 8 months just thinking about it. And then when I had those initial speed bumps, I'm like, oh, did I make the right
Mm-hmm.
decision? But with that, I was like, you know what? How about this? And I didn't mention this earlier, and I
Mm-hmm.
apologize, but Albert and I started meeting 3 times a week. What
Mm-hmm.
challenges are you facing? Where are you experiencing the wins? What can I help you with? And that has helped a lot as well. And for me, the
Mm-hmm.
way I look at it is if I recruit more people into my office, then that leads to the overall profit of our office. Once my office is profitable, I get bonuses, and
Mm-hmm.
my bonuses actually outweigh what I am paying for a
Mm-hmm.
cyberbacker. So any business person will tell you you should get at minimum a 4 times return on your investment. I dare argue you might need to get a 14% return, but that's a
Mm-hmm.
conversation for another day. So I would say, Cyberbacker has been very transparent about, if something doesn't feel right, communicate with us and we will correct it and we will make it right. But just the ease of the day. I know after this call, I can shut my computer and I don't have to open it up again till tomorrow. And to me, that's what Cyberbacker has provided for me, because I know Albert is doing some of the stuff that was just dragging me down. That's
Mm-hmm.
not what's that's not what's moving my business forward.
All right, so of course, we will still be continuing this partnership with you for the years to come. We know it. Of course, Albert is also in that picture. Now, since we're talking about him, would you want to, let's say, do a shout out to him? Because I know he'll be listening to the podcast.
Oh, Albert, you're a movie star, podcast star. Albert, I love working with you, and you know that. I do see you as my partner, and we are one and the same, and you are an extension of me. And I look forward to coming to work with you every day because you make my life so much easier. You're awesome.
I know he is also very excited working with you, Amanda. And to all of our listeners right now, if you'd like to save more time just like Amanda saves every week, please visit our website at cyberbacker.com. Amanda, I know you're very busy. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you for listening to our daily dose of Cyber CEO. Stay tuned to know more about how Cyberbacker creates a difference in this digital time and age. You can visit our website www.cyberbacker.com and follow our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Spotify.